My name is Clara, and at 38, I thought I had made peace with the ghost of the dancer I was meant to be. That ghost was a younger, lighter version of myself, a girl who lived in the space between the floor and the height of a leap, whose language was the eloquent sweep of an arm, the sharp articulation of a foot. For me, dance wasn't a hobby, it was the very rhythm of my life, the pulse that gave it meaning. My world was the scent of rosin and worn leather, the warm wood of the bar beneath my hands, the reflection in the studio mirror that was both my closest friend and my harshest critic. I had a scholarship to a prestigious conservatory in my sights, a tangible reward for a childhood spent in devotion to the art. But my body, the very instrument of my dreams, began to betray me. It wasn't a single, dramatic fall, but a slow, creeping rebelliona weakness in my left ankle that began as a whisper of pain and grew into a roar that no amount of physical therapy or stubborn will could silence. The doctors spoke of chronic instability, of a future filled with surgeries that might allow me to walk without pain, but never to dance professionally again. The grief of that loss was a quiet, constant ache that settled deep in my bones, a phantom limb I would feel for years. I found a different kind of life, a gentler rhythm. I became a Pilates instructor, helping others find strength and balance in their own bodies. It was there, in the quiet, sunlit studio, that I met Mark. He was an architect, a man who built tangible, lasting things from glass and steel, and he taught me how to build a life beyond the studio mirror. He saw me, not the ghost of the dancer I had been, and his love was a foundation upon which I could stand without faltering. When our daughter, Lily, was born, I felt a joy so profound it seemed to fill all the empty spaces my lost dream had left behind. From the moment she could stand, she moved with an innate musicality. It wasn't something I pushed on her, it was simply who she was. Her first steps were more like a chasse across the living room floor, her toddler tantrums a flurry of dramatic, albeit clumsy, contemporary movements. I enrolled her in a creative movement class when she was 4, not to create a prodigy, but to give her an outlet for the music that so clearly lived inside her. But it turned out she had the gift. Not just the passion, which she had in spades, but the physical facility, the intelligence, and the fierce discipline that separates those who enjoy dance from those who are called to it. Now, at 16, she was a young artist in her own right, her dancing a breathtaking fusion of technical precision and raw, honest emotion. And my heart, which I thought had healed, discovered it could swell with a new kind of pride, a vicarious joy that was purer and more selfless than anything I had ever felt for my own accomplishments. The complication in our lives, the discordant note in our family's harmony, was Mark's older sister, Eleanor. Mark and Eleanor had been raised in a house where love was conditional, measured in trophies, report cards, and public achievements. Their father, a renowned litigator, had treated their childhood like one long trial to be won. While Mark had rebelled by choosing a creative, collaborative field, Eleanor had internalized their father's creed. For her, life was a zero-sum game, and she was pathologically driven to win, whatever the cost. When her twin daughters, Sophie and Chloe, were born a year after Lily, the competition began. It was insidious at first whose baby slept through the night, whose toddler knew the most words. I tried to rise above it, to treat her constant comparisons with gentle humor, but it was like trying to deflect 1,000 tiny paper cuts. "It's wonderful that Lily is so passionate," she would say, the emphasis implying a lack of natural talent. "My girls are just effortlessly graceful. It's in their genes." The incidents escalated as the girls grew older and their paths converged in the local dance scene. When they were 11, a crucial piece of music for Lily's solo was mysteriously corrupted moments before she was to go on stage. I had seen Eleanor near the tech booth, her smile tight and knowing. When they were 14, at a summer workshop, Lily's brand new point shoes, painstakingly broken in, were found soaked in water, ruined beyond repair. There was never any proof, only a cloud of toxic suspicion that lingered long after the event. After that, I became vigilant, always packing duplicates of everything, my dance bag a fortress against Eleanor's petty warfare. This year, however, the stakes were different. The Pacific Crest Youth Dance Invitational, held in the rain-swept, moody city of Port Blossom, was one of the most prestigious competitions on the West Coast. The grand prize was not just a trophy, but a full scholarship to the summer intensive at the Avellini Ballet Conservatory in San Francisco, a life-changing opportunity. This was Lily's chance to be seen by the people who could shape her future. We had poured everything into preparing. Months of private coaching with her teacher, the formidable Madame Dubois, and endless rehearsals. The costume alone was a work of art. We had commissioned it from a local designer who worked with the city's professional ballet company. It was a stunning creation of deep emerald silk and tulle, with delicate beadwork that shimmered like moss in the rain, designed to flow with the choreography of her contemporary piece. It cost over $1,000, a significant sacrifice for our family, but it was an investment in her dream. It was her armor. The night before the competition, we checked into the Grand Cedar Hotel, its lobby vast and hushed, smelling of damp wool and old wood. As we approached the front desk, my stomach tightened. There, with a mountain of luggage, stood Eleanor and the twins. "Clara." "What a surprise," she said, her voice echoing slightly in the cavernous space. Her smile, as always, didn't quite reach her eyes. "We're on the 4th floor, too. So convenient for the girls to wish each other luck." Mark, who had driven us up from home, felt the immediate shift in the atmosphere. He placed a hand on my back, a silent signal of support. "Let's get settled," he said, his voice a low anchor in the rising tide of my anxiety. "We just need to focus on Lily." That night, Lily was electric, a hummingbird of nervous energy. Her best friend, Maya, who was also competing, came to our room. They ran through their routines, their hushed whispers and soft footfalls a comforting rhythm in the sterile hotel room. Maya was a force of sunshine, her easy laugh a balm to Lily's intensity. They were often rivals on the stage, but their friendship remained a sacred, protected space. "You're going to leave them speechless tomorrow," Maya said, giving her a fierce hug before she left. "That Avellini scholarship has your name written all over it." I watched my daughter, my fierce, beautiful girl, and felt that familiar cocktail of pride and terror. The stakes felt impossibly high, and I couldn't shake the premonition that Eleanor was not just here to compete, but to conquer. The morning of the competition arrived with a soft gray light filtering through the hotel window, the sky weeping a fine mist over Port Blossom. I woke to find Lily already on the floor, moving through a series of slow, deliberate stretches, her face a mask of quiet concentration. "Today's the day, Mom," she said, her voice steady, but her eyes bright with a fire that I knew so well. We had a carefully planned schedule, starting with a nourishing breakfast from room service. We were just finishing when a sharp rap sounded at the door. Mark opened it to Eleanor and her daughters, already dressed in matching warm-up gear, their hair pulled back into severe, identical buns. "Just wanted to pop in and say Murd," Eleanor chirped, breezing into the room. Sophie and Chloe followed, their eyes darting around, taking in the scene. Eleanor's gaze landed on the emerald green garment bag hanging in the open closet. "I heard the judging panel is notoriously tough this year," she continued, her tone light but the words weighted. "They're looking for absolute perfection." It was her classic psychological warfare, attempting to plant seeds of doubt. I met Lily's eyes across the room and gave her a nearly imperceptible shake of my head. "Don't let her in." "Lily's ready," I said, my voice calm and even. "She's done the work." "Oh, of course," Eleanor replied with a tight smile. "Work is so important. Especially when natural talent isn't quite enough." She clapped her hands together. "Well, girls, we have the private studio booked. Mustn't be late." After they left, Mark let out a long sigh. "I'm sorry, Clara." She never stops." "It's not you," I said, though a part of me wished, just once, he would call her out, truly and finally. But I knew it was complicated, a lifetime of tangled history between them. Downstairs, the ballroom level was a thrumming hive of activity. The air was thick with the scent of hairspray and nervous sweat. We found Madame Dubois, a pillar of calm in the chaos. A former principal dancer with the Paris Opera Ballet, she had an air of regal authority that could quiet any storm. She had taken Lily under her wing, seeing in her a rare spark of artistry. "There is my star," she said, her French accent softening the words. She embraced Lily warmly. "How do you feel, ma chérie?" "Ready," Lily replied, and in that single word, I heard all the hours of pain and practice, all the sacrifice and dedication. They went off to the warm-up area, and I went to handle the registration. As I was signing the final forms, Mark's phone buzzed. It was his firm. A crisis with a structural engineering plan for a major project. He was needed for an emergency consultation. "I have to go," he said, his face etched with apology. "A conference call I can't miss. I'll be back long before Lily performs, I promise." He kissed me, his expression full of regret. "Text me everything." And, just like that, I was alone. I took a deep, steadying breath. This was about Lily. Not about me. Not about Eleanor. After the warm-up, Lily realized we had left a few crucial items in the Ruma-specific brand of hairpins, a roll of moleskin for a potential blister, the double-sided tape that kept her costume perfectly in place. I hesitated to leave her, but Madame Dubois waved away my concern. "Go. I will not leave her side. We have hours." I hurried back to our room on the 4th floor, my mind running through a checklist. I gathered the items and was heading for the elevator when I saw Eleanor coming down the hall, away from the direction of the dressing rooms. There was a look on her face, a placid, satisfied expression that made the fine hairs on my arms stand up. "Oh, Clara," she said, feigning surprise. "Did you forget something?" Before I could answer, she swept past me, a cloud of expensive, cloying perfume in her wake. A cold dread washed over me. I broke into a run, my heart pounding against my ribs, the forgotten hairpins digging into my palm. I pushed open the door to the dressing room. It was quiet, most of the dancers having cleared out. And there was Lily, sitting on a stool, her shoulders slumped. On the floor in front of her lay the emerald green costume, or what was left of it. The delicate silk had been sliced through, the bodice ripped from the skirt, the shimmering beads scattered across the floor like fallen tears. "What happened?" I whispered, though I already knew. The scissors, a small pair from a sewing kit, lay on the table beside the wreckage. "Aunt Eleanor," Lily said, her voice trembling. "She came in. Said she had a good luck charm for me. I had to use the restroom. I was gone for maybe 2 minutes. When I came back, this." At that exact moment, the door swung open again. Eleanor stood there, flanked by the twins, her face a perfect mask of theatrical shock and concern. "Oh, my heavens. Lily, your beautiful costume. What on earth happened?" "Like you don't know," I hissed, the fury I had held in check for years finally breaking its leash. I took a step toward her, my hands clenched into fists. "I just saw you in the hallway. Coming from this direction. Looking so pleased with yourself." Eleanor's mask of concern flickered, revealing the cold triumph beneath. "Are you accusing me of something, Clara? That's a serious allegation." In a lower voice, a venomous whisper meant only for me, she added, "These things happen." A shame. Now my girls have a real chance. The rage that surged through me was a physical force, hot and blinding. This wasn't just a dress. It was months of saving, hours of design, a symbol of my daughter's heart and soul, shredded by this woman's bitter, corrosive jealousy. "Mom," a quiet voice said from behind me. I turned. Lily was no longer crying. Her face was strangely serene, her eyes clear. There was a resolve in her expression that startled me. "Mom, relax," she whispered, pulling me gently away from Eleanor. "Come with me. I need to show you something." Puzzled, I let her lead me out of the dressing room and into a small, empty alcove down the hall, away from Eleanor's gloating gaze. "Remember the summer showcase 2 years ago?" Lily asked, her voice low and steady. How could I forget? Her lyrical costume, a pale lavender, had vanished from the dressing room right before her performance. We'd never found it. She had danced in a borrowed, ill-fitting practice tunic, her confidence shaken. After that, Lily continued, a strange, almost mischievous light now dancing in her eyes. Madame Dubois told me something. She said, in this world, ma chérie, talent is not enough. You must also be clever. A true artist is always prepared for the unexpected. You must have a plan B. Lily pulled out her phone and sent a quick text. A minute later, Maya appeared, carrying a garment bag identical to the one that had held the ruined costume. She looked from me to Lily, her expression a mix of conspiracy and excitement. Is it time? Lily nodded, then turned to me, a slow, brilliant smile spreading across her face. Mom, the dress and Eleanor just destroyed? That was the decoy. The what? The word felt foreign on my tongue. The decoy, Lily repeated. Madame Dubois and I. We had a feeling she might try something again, especially with this much on the line. So we made a plan. Remember that old costume from last season? The one with the torn hem we were going to throw out? I nodded, still trying to process what she was saying. We took it to the designer. He dyed it the same shade of emerald and added some similar, cheaper beadwork to make it look like the real one from a distance. It cost an extra $100 for the alterations, but Madame Dubois called it an insurance policy. Maya unzipped the garment bag she was holding. Inside, pristine and perfect, hung the real emerald green costume. It seemed to glow with an inner light, the silk catching the dim hallway light, the intricate beadwork sparkling like a secret constellation. The real one has been with Maya's mom in their hotel room since we checked in, Lily explained. We figured it was the safest place for it. I stared at my daughter, a wave of astonishment washing over me. This girl, my child whom I was so desperate to protect, had outmaneuvered us all. With wisdom and foresight far beyond her 16 years, she had anticipated the attack and prepared a defense. But, you were crying when I came in, I said, the image of her tear-streaked face still vivid in my mind. She exchanged a slightly sheepish look with Maya. Well, she said, I had to sell it, didn't I? If I didn't look completely devastated, she might have gotten suspicious. A laugh, sudden and liberating, bubbled up from my chest. It was a release of all the tension, the fear, the white-hot anger, replaced now by a fierce, soaring pride. My daughter had not allowed herself to be a victim. She had not met cruelty with cruelty, but with strategy and grace. It was Madame Dubois's idea, Maya chimed in. She's always saying, the show must go on. It is our only sacred rule. As if summoned, Madame Dubois appeared at the end of the hall, her expression concerned until she saw us huddled with the real costume. A slow, satisfied smile spread across her face. I see Operation Emerald Shield was a success. She looked at Lily, her eyes gleaming with approval. I am proud of you. This is the kind of mind a true artist must possess. The world can be an ugly place. We must be prepared to protect our beautiful things. I pulled Lily into a hug, burying my face in her hair, inhaling the familiar scent of her shampoo and hairspray. When did you get so clever? I murmured, my voice thick with emotion. I learned from watching you, Mom, she said simply. You taught me to be strong, but you also taught me to be smart. Screaming at Aunt Eleanor wouldn't have fixed the dress. This way, we get to win without playing her ugly game. Madame Dubois checked her elegant watch. You are on in 90 minutes. We have ample time. Now, she turned to me, a conspiratorial glint in her eye. Shall we let Eleanor savor her victory a little longer? A part of me, the part that had endured years of Eleanor's psychological warfare, thrilled at the idea. I wanted to see the look on her face when her perfectly executed plan unraveled. I looked at Lily for the final word. It was her battle, her stage. I think, Lily said, a quiet fire in her voice, that the best answer to her is my performance. Let her think she's won. Right up until the moment I step into the light. In that moment, she was no longer just my daughter. She was a young woman of incredible character and strength. She wasn't seeking revenge, only justice, and the most powerful justice she could imagine was to dance her heart out. "That's my girl," I said, my voice full of awe. "Now let's get you ready." We returned to the main dressing room, a whirlwind of feigned despair. I clutched the ruined decoy dress, making a show of inspecting the damage while Lily put on a brave, tear-stained face. Eleanor was still there, ostensibly packing her daughter's bags, but I could feel her watching us, soaking in our misery. "Oh, Clara, I am just so sorry for you," she said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "Perhaps it's for the best. The pressure here is immense. Maybe next year." I bit down on the inside of my cheek to keep from smiling. "We'll figure something out," I said, my voice intentionally shaky. "Well, if there's anything I can do," she offered, the lie so blatant it was almost funny. "Sophie and Chloe have spare practice leotards, though they might be a bit snug on Lily." It was a classic Eleanor jab, a subtle dig at the fact that Lily, at 5'8", was taller and more athletic than her own petite daughters. As she finally departed, she made sure to announce to a nearby group of parents such a terrible shame about Lily's costume. Some children just can't handle the stress of high-level competition. The moment she was gone, Madame Dubois took charge. "Maya, take Lily and the real costume to the private dressing room I booked under my name. No one will find you there. Clara, you stay here. Look frantic. Ask for a sewing kit. We must make this performance convincing." I nodded, playing my part. I spread the tattered remains of the decoy on a table and began fussing with a needle and thread, a pantomime of hopeless repair. Soon, other mothers gathered around, their sympathy a stark contrast to Eleanor's malice. "I'm not surprised," whispered Barbara, whose daughter had competed with Lily for years. "Last season, Eleanor told the judges my Katie had a professional agent, which is against the rules. We had to show them her school report card to prove she was still an amateur. It seemed we were part of a reluctant club, the Order of Mothers Tormented by Eleanor. Their genuine offers of help a spare skirt, a handful of sequins warmed my heart and strengthened my resolve. I even called Mark, making sure my voice carried. "I don't know what we're going to do," I lamented into the phone. "It's ruined. Lily is heartbroken." He was, of course, terribly confused, but I promised to explain later. Meanwhile, in a quiet room on another floor, a different kind of performance was being prepared. Maya's mother, a professional makeup artist, worked her magic on Lily's face, creating a look that was dramatic enough for the stage, but ethereal enough for the choreography. Maya styled her hair into an intricate braided crown. Through a steady stream of texts, I watched my daughter's transformation while maintaining my own charade of desperation. As Lily's category was called, I slipped away from the sympathetic crowd, telling them I needed a moment. I found Lily ready and waiting. In the emerald green costume, with her hair and makeup complete, she was breathtaking. She looked less like a teenage competitor and more like a principal dancer about to step onto a world-class stage. But more importantly, she looked calm. She was in the zone. "You are the most beautiful thing I have ever seen," I whispered, my eyes filling with real tears this time. "Don't, Mom," she warned with a small smile. "You'll make me cry," and this makeup took an hour. We used a back staircase to get to the wings of the stage, a secret route to avoid any last-minute encounters. The backstage area was a controlled chaos of nervous energy. "This is me," I said, giving her a quick, fierce hug. "Dance like you do when you think no one is watching." It was our ritual, the words I'd whispered to her since her very first recital. She smiled, a flash of the little girl she used to be. "Thanks, Mom. For everything." I found a seat in the darkened auditorium just as Mark slid in beside me, his face a mask of worry. "What's going on? You sounded frantic. Where's Lily?" "Just watch," I whispered, squeezing his hand. "You're not going to believe what your sister did. Or what our daughter did about it." I saw Eleanor a few rows ahead, seated in a prime spot. She leaned forward, a smug little smile playing on her lips, clearly expecting a no-show. Then the announcer's voice echoed through the hall. Next, competitor number 82, Lily Ashton, performing Unfurling, choreographed by Madame Isabelle Dubois. A moment of silence. The stage remained empty. I could feel Eleanor straighten in her seat, savoring her victory. And then, Lily walked out of the wings. She didn't run or hurry. She glided to the center of the stage, her posture radiating a calm, unshakable confidence. The stage lights caught the beadwork on her perfect emerald costume, scattering tiny jewels of light across the floor. I saw Eleanor's jaw literally drop. Her whole body went rigid with shock. Mark gripped my hand, his confusion melting into dawning comprehension and pride. The music began a haunting, minimalist piece for cello and piano that built from a place of quiet introspection to a powerful, soaring climax. From her first movement, a slow, deliberate unfolding of her arms, Lily held the entire audience captive. She was not merely executing steps, she was telling a story. It was a story of weathering a storm, of finding strength in vulnerability, of rising from the ashes. It was the story of her last 2 hours, translated into a language more powerful than words. Her technique was flawless, her leaps gravity-defying, her turns sharp and centered. But it was the emotion she poured into the dance that set her apart. I forgot to breathe. I forgot she was my daughter. I was simply a witness to a moment of pure, transcendent art. I glanced at Eleanor. Her face was a storm of conflicting emotions, disbelief, fury, and a grudging, undeniable respect. Beside her, Sophie and Chloe watched Lily with wide, mesmerized eyes. As the music reached its crescendo, Lily launched into the final, most demanding sequence. It ended with a controlled, beautiful fall to the floor, her body contracting into a seed-like shape before one arm unfurled slowly towards the light, a symbol of hope and rebirth. She held the final pose as the music faded into silence. For a heartbeat, the entire ballroom was still, suspended in the emotional wake of her performance. And then, the applause erupted. It wasn't just polite clapping, it was a roar, a standing ovation that washed over the stage in a wave. Lily rose, took her bow, and a radiant, genuine smile lit up her face. It was the smile of an artist who had given everything she had and knew it was enough. Backstage was a blur of congratulations from other dancers. When Lily saw me, she rushed into my arms. "I did it, Mom. I really did it." "You were sublime," I said, my voice choked with emotion. "I've never seen you dance like that." "It felt different," she confessed. "When I was out there, all I could think about was everything that happened. And it wasn't anger. It just felt like fuel." Over her shoulder, I saw Eleanor approaching, her daughters trailing behind her. Her face was pale, her expression tight. "Well," she said, her voice strained. "That was unexpected, was it?" I asked softly. Her eyes flickered to Lily's flawless costume. "I don't understand." "The dress." "Oh, this one?" Lily asked, her voice light and devoid of malice. "This is my real costume. The one you destroyed was just a stand-in. We thought you might try something." The color flooded Eleanor's face. She opened her mouth, but the announcer called the twins category. She turned and herded her daughters away, but not before Chloe glanced back at Lily with an expression I couldn't quite decipher, part jealousy, part awe. When the finalists were announced, Lily's name was called, as were the names of Sophie and Chloe. As we prepared to leave for the evening, I saw Eleanor across the lobby. For the first time, she didn't look triumphant or smug. She just looked small and defeated. Tomorrow would bring the final round. But tonight, a victory had already been won, one that had nothing to do with judges or scores. My daughter had faced the ugliest side of human nature and had responded not with bitterness, but with brilliance. And that was a prize beyond measure. The following morning, we were having breakfast in the hotel's sun-drenched cafe when Eleanor appeared at our table. She was alone, her face drawn and tired. "May I?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Mark nodded, and she sank into a chair. For a long moment, she just stared at her hands. I did a terrible thing, she said finally, not looking at us. There's no excuse. No, Mark said gently but firmly. There isn't. I see Dad in myself sometimes, she murmured, tears welling in her eyes. This need to win, to prove I'm the best. It's like a disease. When I see Lily, so talented and free, it triggers something ugly in me. I'm so sorry, Lily. She finally looked at her niece, her face awash with shame. It has to stop, Aunt Eleanor, Lily said, her voice quiet but strong. Not just for me. For Sophie and Chloe. You're teaching them that this is how you get what you want. Before Eleanor could respond, Madame Dubois approached, accompanied by one of the competition directors. A formal complaint has been filed, the director said gravely. Another parent witnessed Mrs. Davies entering the dressing room alone before the costume was found damaged. Sabotage is grounds for immediate disqualification of the associated dancers. Eleanor went white. Don't punish my girls for what I did. That wouldn't be fair, Lily said immediately, surprising everyone. They danced their hearts out. They earned their spot. Please. I'm not pressing the complaint. My actual costume was never harmed. The director looked from Lily's earnest face to Eleanor's crumbling one. After a quiet discussion with Mark about alternative consequences of formal reprimand, mandatory sportsmanship counseling for Eleanor, she agreed to present the proposal to the board. Why would you do that? Eleanor asked Lily after they had gone. Because my cousins were disqualified isn't winning, Lily said simply. Family is complicated. But we're still family. Just then, the twins arrived, their faces anxious. Mom, is it true? Sophie asked. Are we disqualified? No, Eleanor said, her voice thick. You're not. Because your cousin, who I treated so horribly, stood up for you. Sophie and Chloe looked at Lily stunned. Then, in a gesture that felt like the shifting of tectonic plates in our family's landscape, Sophie stepped forward and hugged her cousin. Thank you, she whispered. And you were amazing yesterday. The finals were that afternoon. The tension was gone, replaced by a quiet, focused energy. All three girls danced beautifully. When the final results were announced, the grand prize, the scholarship to the Avellini Ballet Conservatory, went to Lily. The ballroom erupted. As Lily stood on stage, trophy in hand, confetti drifting around her, I wept with a joy so pure it felt like a cleansing rain. The twins had placed in the top 10, a huge accomplishment. Later, as we were all packing up, Eleanor approached Lily. She hugged her niece, a long, quiet embrace that felt less like a performance and more like a prayer. On the long drive home, the car was filled with a happy, peaceful silence. You know, Mom, Lily said, looking out at the passing forest of towering pines, I learned something this weekend. Winning is incredible. But that feeling on stage, when the music starts and everything else just disappears. That's the real prize. That's what I'll chase for the rest of my life. I looked at my daughter, this wise, resilient soul, and knew she was right. The incident of the torn dress became a turning point in our family story. It didn't magically fix everything. Healing is a slow, difficult dance. But it opened a door to a new kind of honesty. Eleanor began therapy. The girls started to build a real friendship, based on a shared passion rather than a forced rivalry. The decoy dress now hangs in the back of Lily's closet. It's a reminder that the world can be sharp and cruel, but that the best response is not to build higher walls, but to cultivate a stronger, smarter, more compassionate heart. It reminds us that true strength isn't about never falling, it's about how you choose to rise.